The date is February 7th, 2023, and the time is 4:31. To ensure we have a quorum present, I'm going to read out the names of members of the executive committee, and if you are here, please say present. Colin Clark, and to those who are new here, I'm the chair of the board, present. Dr. Lyle Buffalo.
Present.
Dawn Nam? Don Davidson, sorry. Don Davidson. Cameron Johnson.
Present.
Thank you, Cameron. Ed Toriak.
Present.
Andre McEwing. John McPherson.
Almost.
James Stanton.
Present.
Michael Stack.
Present.
John Beckert.
Present.
Pilar Davies.
Yeah.
And Christine Vandeveld.
Present.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I think we can note here that we have a quorum of the executive committee present, and I call this meeting of the executive committee of Uplift Education to order. Okay, first item of business is the community forum. Alex, do we have community speakers signed up to speak?
We do not have any community forums this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Our next item of business is to consider and take action on the December 6th, 2022 board meeting minutes provided in the board's pre-read. Are there any questions from the board on the recommended minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, John. And second?
Second.
Are there any votes against the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Next, I'll hand it to Alex for information on a state intruder detection audit finding.
Thank you, Colum. Just to provide notice to the board, one of our schools, Uplift Middle School, was flagged for not having all of their documentation regarding exterior door intruder audits in place. So we are, of course, putting together the corrective action plan. Good news is training of staff has already occurred. The documentation that was out of compliance is now very much in compliance, and we will be having a local safety and security committee meeting at the end of this month. And that will submit it to TEA, and that will take care of that.
Any questions for Alex? Okay. Staying with Alex, we have two administrative action items. Alex.
Thank you. So we have two administrative action items. The first is a bond resolution pertaining to the ability from the board to administration to go ahead and issue and take all measures needed to issue Series A bonds. It was drafted generally enough to where if we needed to do any series of bonds outside of A, we can do so. It also permits and delegates authority to Yasmin, the CEO, the Director of Finance, and myself, if for any reason Yasmin was unavailable, to go ahead and sign on those bond forms to make sure we get the ball going. Next step is once we have the approved resolution from the board, we'll work with obviously a slew of folks to underwrite, bond counsel, et cetera, on getting those bonds sold.
Any questions for Alex on the first resolution? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution of the Board of Directors of Uplift Education authorizing financing and related actions as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any votes against the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Let's see. Alex, I think there's another item.
There is. The academic calendar for next school year, we are already there. The calendar was provided in the pre-read. I don't necessarily have any specific remarks about it.
Remy has two slides following it
Oh.
that we included in case anyone needed a reminder. If you want to give Remy a minute, she can quickly touch on it.
Yeah, so we start this process back in October, and we send out surveys to every single person who is involved with our schools. And some of the shifts we made last year were to do making sure we kept 5 days of break for students in the fall. And we kept our early release Wednesdays. Like many of the things in our calendar will remain the same. One small shift, and we can shift to the next slide really quickly, is that our teachers had a 3-day fall break this year, but overwhelmingly we heard from them that they were like, we appreciated coming back to have some planning days, but we'd appreciate more having all 5 days in the fall to themselves. And so that's the one shift, that the largest shift you'll see in the calendar that you guys got in the pre-read. We also moved the start of the school year back a week. We started a little bit earlier to account for that 5-day break that we have in the fall. But the early start was just really challenging for some of our parents who have scholars in other school districts, and for our staff it was just a much shortened summer experience, and so we moved that back to August the 9th, and we just moved back to having more planning time at the end of our semester. So instead of having those 2 days that they had in the fall for planning this year, next year that we'll just put those back in half days at the end of each semester. So we'll still have that planning training time that they got for this year. So really minimal shifts, other than to shift back a week for a start date and give the teachers 2 more days in their fall break for the school year. And the feedback I got from most of the stakeholders, we just hear a lot. And one was just that early release Wednesdays, starting to hear more people saying they're not sure if that's something that we want to continue to have. And so I've agreed to take that under study throughout this year around like how do we best optimize that time, or do we need to make some shifts for the early release Wednesday. And I'm sure many of you guys have heard the buzz around a 4-day school week. I definitely heard a lot of that from stakeholders about interest around doing that. And so we've committed to, I put out a survey about that, thinking about that for high school. We thought about like how do we consider that maybe in the future, like the viability and like what would be the impact. So we'll learn from all the other school districts who are doing that this year, and we'll take that under study for next year's academic calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. Any questions? Calendar? Alex, would you like to say anything more about it?
No, I think we covered this.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 to 2024 Uplift academic calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any motions, any votes, excuse me, against the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Our next 3 items of business are appeal hearings, and I'm going to ask Alex to manage these on behalf of the board.
Okay, thank you, Cullum. So we have one scholar expulsion appeal. We're actually moving to the April board meeting. So we'll have one level 3 grievance appeal and one scholar expulsion appeal. I think, do we have the family of scholar CR? Not present? Do we have Mr. Ward present? Oh, Mr. Ward, if you could, I think it would probably be best if we could maybe move you over here. That gives you a little bit of... You're welcome to, or you're welcome to have a seat. It's going to take a little bit of time, so you may be more comfortable sitting down. This is a binder for you. All right. So good afternoon. The date is January 31st, 2023. The time is 4:38 p.m. and the Uplift Education Board is here this afternoon to hear the Level 3 Employee Grievance Appeal of Mr. Ryan Ward. Sections 551.074 and 551.082 of the Texas Government Code authorize the board to hear this appeal in closed session unless, Mr. Ward, you request the hearing to be heard in open session. At this time, I'll ask you which you would like, open session or closed session. Open session means the public can stay in, we'll keep the video recording going. Closed session means we'll ask the public to leave, and only certain individuals will stay who are relevant to the grievance appeal. We'll keep a certified agenda.
Perfect. I would, because of the FERPA, I would want to close it.
Okay.
But if we close it, it's still going to be recorded, right?
It will not be video recorded. We'll
But
keep,
under
we'll
the
keep an
Privacy
audio
Act,
recording.
the last 2 I've been able to request copies of, will I be able to request? Because otherwise, it's going to be all hearsay.
Yeah, we'll keep an audio recording of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move into closed session at this time. It is...
Oh, we're videotaping it, so we don't need to. Because
Are we on?
He's on.
Before we start, I have a question why we're video recording the end and everything else was audio, because I'm still going to need a copy of the audio.
Yeah,
What has changed?
The audio was recorded.
It's all recorded.
The audio, we made an audio recording, but there was no recording done during a
I get
closed executive
that,
session.
but if we're going to be releasing information, shouldn't it still be? You can go ahead. I'll let you
Okay.
guys.
The video is now on because we're
No, I
now
get
in
that.
open session.
Can
Yes.
we confirm the video's on? Thank you, sir. We are back in open session. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us tonight. Do I have a motion to deny the level 3 grievance appeal of Ryan Ward and uphold the level 2 hearing officer decision?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any votes against the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Okay, what we would like to say is thank you for raising these issues with Uplift Schools.
Of course, I'm going to be moving forward now as you guys are all going to be involved in the next investigations with the U.S. Department of Education as well as TA because you've cited saying that this information is fine and it's been proven by TA already. So everyone will be included on that now.
Okay.
Thank you for raising the
Thank you,
issues.
Mr. Ward.
We're done with this issue for this
We're going to take
evening.
a 5-minute break?
We're going to take a 5-minute break and reconvene. Or go to here for the next one.
Okay, 5:57.
5:57, okay. Got it. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us on a long night. Appreciate everything that everybody does. So we're rolling into our this expulsion appeal, and I think Derek is going to explain to us the situation.
Sure, yeah. My understanding is the parents have not arrived, so I'll just go ahead and give the position of the administration.
Thank you.
The appeal concerns recommendation for expulsion for scholar CR, an 8th grader at Atlas Middle. The scholar in question was implicated in 4 different events involving a THC vaporizer or vape, and multiple scholars implicated the scholar in distribution of vapes on campus. Beginning in late August, she was identified with a few other scholars having a vape on campus. As a result of that activity, various supportive measures and restorative practices were put in place, including education for the scholars on the dangers inherent in vaping, and counseling sessions, as well as escorts to the restrooms for those scholars in question. Expulsion was not recommended in those circumstances. However, in September, the scholar was also implicated in another event involving the discovery of a vape. Then on October 4th, she was again identified as having provided a vape to other scholars, and that was confirmed by video evidence. And then the following day, there was yet another incident on October 5th involving scholars with vapes, and they identified this student as the one who had provided those devices. So in total, 4 incidents, and ultimately it was recommended that she be expelled. The hearing for that was on October 26th, and the recommendation was to expel the student in question. Notably, since that decision and the removal of the scholar from the campus, there were no additional incidents that semester involving vapes. So what had been sort of a large-scale problem on the campus suddenly was no longer an issue. So with that, answer any questions you may have. I also have folks here who have first-hand knowledge if you want to hear.
Hey.
Well, do you mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Mr. Ward, just kind of very briefly, can you identify just sort of the one primary reason under the Scholar Code of Conduct for the expulsion of the scholar?
Yes, it's the distribution of the controlled substance, or THC.
So distribution and possession of the vape, or vape pens, multiple vape pens with THC in it?
Yes.
And how many incidents were there involving this scholar in question?
Implicated in 4, but directly in possession, I guess, in 2.
Alex, could I know the family didn't come, could someone just maybe summarize briefly what the position of the family is? Does they appeal it this far?
Are you able to share what the family shared in earlier, or in the original hearing?
Yes, so during the hearing, the family or mom did say that there's nowhere where the scholar was able to get the vape pens. You know, they denied everything, scholar denied everything. Fortunately, you know, scholars came forward, but it was just everyone denied it.
Just didn't happen, that's the.
Yeah, didn't happen.
Would anyone else like to add anything on the situation?
Yeah, I guess just to specify, that's a level 3 violation of the student code of conduct, and that's available on page 74 of the material.
And Derek, you may have said this, how many scholars identified in their witness statement that the scholar in question
Was the one distributed?
provided, yeah?
Five total. from all
Five total
payments
scholars
and
identified the scholar in question.
Yes. And then the video evidence shows her passing on the item to another scholar.
Any questions from the board? It's James.
So this is just, again, partially because of my own ignorance of this area. So never used a vape pen. My guess is the pens can be used to smoke different things. So the vape pen that's being used, that's the device, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then it has THC in it, which is marijuana, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this wasn't like a vape pen that was using like to smoke cigarettes or something like that. It was actually illegal controlled substances, drugs.
That's correct.
Okay, very good.
Other questions from the board? In the absence of further questions, Alex, what's next for us?
You can ask for a motion.
Okay.
Or you can go into
Or
closed
you can go
session
into
if you
closed
all want to
session.
talk about
Would
it.
anyone like to discuss in closed session? Okay. Then I will ask, do I have a motion to deny the expulsion appeal of Scholar CR?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any votes against the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Okay, well, as we are not hearing the expulsion of the expulsion hearing appeal of another situation, which is going to maybe come back to us later, maybe?
Yeah, so right now, the family, it was a notice issue, and the
Okay.
scholar's going to be coming back to us on that expulsion hearing deal at the April board meeting. So we are good to adjourn.
Okay, is there any other business to come before the board? Okay, there being no further business before the board, the meeting is adjourned. The time is now 6:07, I think, 6:07. And thank you all for your time this evening. Thanks for your service to Uplift Education. To all of you all, thank you for bearing with us in
Thank you so
a
much.
long
Thank
evening.
you.
And above all, thank you for everything you do for our scholars.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.